I am Ray, and this is how I cured my depression. And this is what's going to save you as well. Don't mind me, I've got the hiccups. The first thing we need to understand is that depression is like the darkness. I was born in the darkness. You merely adopted it. I mean, if you've ever struggled with depression, you kind of know it's like this big black hole that's just consuming your whole life. And is miserable. Now, what are the experiences on depression? Lethargy. No desire. Or motivation. And oftentimes, no desire to live. That's the inevitable outcome of depression, as we've all experienced if you've had depression. Now, when we're struggling with depression, it's hard to make sense of it. So now that I've become free, it's easy for me to explain it in a way that's very helpful. So don't worry, I got you. You could also use death. Death and darkness, kind of the same thing. Now I want you to think, not labeling these things as bad, but think about this on a daily basis. We wake up in the morning full of life. Well, I guess not if you're depressed. Normally, you wake up with energy and you go and do things. You live your life. And then you use up that energy and you need to restore your juices. So you go to sleep at night. But what happens at the end of the day? You get tired. You don't really have the desire to do much. You don't really have the motivation. And maybe you just want to go to sleep, which is like a mini death. So the darkness and death, it's a natural force that we experience all the time. But the problem is when we become imbalanced. Every night you want not to have desire, because if you have desire, it's going to keep you awake. You're going to want to do things. You don't want to have motivation at midnight. I mean, maybe you do. Just wait till 3 a.m. It'll come. You don't want to be so alive and doing things because you want to go to sleep. You're tired. You got no energy. And this reveals what depression is. Because you can see on one level, it's normal. It's normal to have these things. But when you're experiencing depression, it's like the worst thing in the world. So we must uncover the secrets. And well, it's not that complicated. Life is mathematical. What's the cure for darkness, would you say? That's right. I feel like I'm Dora the Explorer or something. The cure for the darkness is the light. So basically the assumption is, if we can see that depression is like darkness, it's like death, and it ends in death, does it not? Well, then we understand immediately how to cure it. It's like in chemistry. I'm not Walter White, but I know that if you put an acid and a base together, they're going to neutralize each other. And if you put a negative and a positive together, they're going to neutralize each other because they're opposites. And that's all this is. Negative, positive. Anything that you want to fix in your life, you remember it for next time. You find the root of the problem, and then you integrate the opposite. That is all. It's quite logical, is it not? It's not that insane, I don't think. You could also say life. Now, okay, we're getting somewhere. So life is this game, this dynamic play between energy and entropy. So when you look out at the stars and at space, you'll see that this is true. There are stars, which are energy, big balls, and there are entropy, which is dark holes. So you got big balls and dark holes. Congratulations. This is life. Entropy is the force of chaos. The destructive force of existence, and energy is order. It's also the masculine and the feminine. Order, chaos. And these two forces have to be balanced in order for life to sustain itself. Because if you don't sustain itself, everything goes by. Another way I like to look at it as, well, we are all instruments of God. And your life is the song. And whether or not your song is in harmony is determined by whether or not you are in tune. So the fact is, if you're a normal human being, you're going to experience imbalance. And when you experience balance, you become a successful human being, at least to other people. In that life goes the way you want it to. Things happen that are good, and you're not struggling so much anymore. Because it is precisely the imbalance in us that creates all of these problems. I feel like a robot that's not quite functioning. And mind you, I struggled with depression for years and years and years and years. Long time. And somehow I figured it out, which I don't think it's possible for me to experience depression ever again. Maybe. Perhaps. But what is required if you want to break free? Walk out the long, hard road out of hell. You need momentum. You need to take your power back. See, right here? Energy. Energy is power. So, let me express how depression happens. It'll make it easier to understand how to break free. So here you are, little stick. And the little stick has a head, a mind. And this little stick person also has energy. And even if you don't have a lot of energy, you still have energy. Because if you didn't have any energy, you'd be dead. And the more you feel like death, the more you realize, oh, I have no energy. It's like you, after a hard workout, you used up all your energy. You're literally spent. You're just deflated. Great workout, but I'm tired. So, based on where you point your mind, where you're focused on, your attention, that is where your energy goes. Your energy gets filtered through you and pointed somewhere by your mind. Now, here's the deal. Energy is life. Think about stars for a moment. Stars are big balls of energy. And stars are what give life to everything. Billions of years ago, a supernova exploded and gave life to our solar system, to the Earth and the Sun. And the Sun literally gives life to the Earth. Without the Sun, there would be no life. So in every way possible, stars are the life force of the universe. The positive force of order. So I want you to understand that energy and life are one and the same. There's no difference. They're just two different words for the same one phenomenon. Now we're going to use some religious terms. I'm struggling. I'm going to use some religious terms to understand this. So the mind is a pointed tool, and you got 3 directions you can point it. Negative, neutral, or positive. And what this means is that whether or not something is negative, neutral, or positive is determined by its relationship to energy. So for instance, if I have 2 cups of coffee, I feel great, it's wonderful. But if I have 10 cups of coffee, I'm dying, having a heart attack. I focused on this too much. Or let's say I'm scrolling on social media, swipe. If I watch like 3 really good videos and I'm inspired, I turn off the app, I delete it. Wow. It was good. But if I spend 4 hours doom scrolling, not good. So it's a delicate balance. Learning how to point this mind in the right direction. And some things are just inherently bad. In that when you engage in them, they cause you to focus on negativity. Whenever you focus your mind on something that is not good for you, it's called sin. Sin literally means to miss the mark, like with a bow and arrow. So your mind is a bow and arrow. You point it in certain directions, and whether or not you point it in the right or wrong directions determines whether or not you sin. And if it's positive, it's generally called virtue. So, for instance, this is why in the Bible, sin is called, well, they say all sin leads to death. Death? Not good, we don't want that. And all virtue leads to life. Everlasting life with heaven and God. That's like all the religions. Do this and good things will happen. And if you do this, bad things will happen. And then people just go crazy. It's literally just telling you how to live your life. Guidelines of saying, hey, if you do this, life will work out for you. Because there are right ways and wrong ways to live life. At least from this human perspective. Maybe from God's perspective, if you live your whole life as a hobo and then you die, maybe there's a higher purpose, a higher meaning. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. But from our human perspective, we would prefer not to be homeless. No? I mean, maybe you would. We, generally speaking, want to feel good. Live a good life. So what happens over time is that we get into the bad habit of pointing our mind in ways that do not serve us. We perpetually get stuck in focusing our minds in negative ways which drain us of all of our life energy. And where life is not, death is. Like when you turn the light off to a room, and darkness is what remains. Watch. Now we are in darkness. Look how much difference that makes. The light illumines. It gives the video life. Like if I made the whole video in darkness, nobody would watch it. Why? Well, we are inherently pulled toward the light. We're attracted to it. It brings life to the situation. So all we have to do to be free from depression is just begin day by day building the habit of changing the way we point our minds. Literally all it is focusing on different things. And you can pull yourself up out of any situation. As it is said, the mind can make a heaven out of hell or hell out of heaven. We only have to point our mind in ways that are life affirming. And this is also why, for instance, a lot of your problems can be solved. I think it was Carl Jung that said this. By making a conscious moral effort. Crazy as it sounds. A lot of your problems can be fixed by just trying to be a better person. And having that desire for life to be better. But here's the tricky thing. Now we're diving deep to the root of the problem. When we focus on something negative, what will happen is that it will create an emotional response relative to whatever it is we focused on. So if it's negative, we're going to feel bad. If it's neutral, we will feel nothing. And if it's positive, we will feel good. I want you to imagine this like heaven and this like hell. The more you feel like hell, the more you have habitually been focusing your mind in negative ways that don't serve you. And the more you feel like you're in heaven, the more you've been focusing your mind in good ways. You're doing things right. You're living in accordance with the natural law. But the problem is that when we feel strongly about something, it creates memory in our body. Our body uses this memory for survival purposes so that it can force you to act before you think. Because if you don't act before thinking, you're going to get eaten by a grizzly bear. Sorry. And your body will not allow that to happen if it has anything to say about it. So what happens? You have a piece of information or a pattern, and attached to that pattern or that piece of information is an emotional memory. Now, most of the time, that piece of info, what it's going to be your relationship with yourself. So, throughout your life, you're going to have experiences. And you're going to have a relationship with yourself, no matter what you do, because you're always here with yourself. And if you have perpetually experienced negative feelings about yourself, you will have a negative self-image, negative memory stored in your body in relationship to you. So, what's that going to look like? You're not going to like yourself all that much. You're going to sabotage everything good in your life. You're going to hate yourself. You're going to wish you were dead. And you're going to hate life. Because your relationship with your own self is negative. Now, it's not your fault that this may happen. All it is that we've had more negative experiences with ourselves than positive ones. Which leads to us focusing our attention in negative ways, draining us of our life force. Because every time that memory is triggered by external stimuli, some experience in the world triggers that memory. Your body is going to get sent into fight or flight, hyper-focus on what is negative, feel bad about it, and then continue to reinforce that story or that drama. The story of the situation you are currently in. I'm struggling with depression. I hate my life. This sucks. It's all a mental story that is draining you of your life. And so we have to understand that it is the underlying story that we are telling ourselves that is responsible for destroying our lives, for keeping us stuck in depression. And that story is wrong. It's fundamentally false. By definition, this is true, because that story leads us to hell. It leads us to the wrong path, where we don't want to go. And we get stuck in this because we get caught in this trap of trying to be a realist, of saying, no, this is the way it is. This is the truth. I'm living the truth, and it sucks. And yet, it's just a belief. It's just an assumption. Like, everybody sucks. That's just a belief. Or like, the world is going down the toilet. It's just a made-up belief. And because the mind hyper-focuses on all the evidence that reaffirms what we already believe, we think it's true because we feel like it's true. We focus on the so-called evidence that we see, and it makes us feel a certain way. And because it's so strong, feeling is strong, it influences us to believe in whatever it is, whatever truth, whatever information. And it is because we believe these stories that is what keeps us stuck. So, for example, if you've been feeling bad about yourself for any length of time, you're going to have negative thoughts about yourself. And that's going to make you feel bad about yourself. And all of these things create a negative relationship with yourself. So every time you go into any situation, you're coming from this negative, almost like self-deprecating energy. Because you're carrying this feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy, of secretly hating yourself, or not so secretly. Beating yourself up, judging yourself. I can never do anything right. And so the question is, moving forward, it's not about what you think is true. It doesn't matter. Because there's infinite amounts of suffering everywhere all the time. Do you really want to go down that path? Why not just go online, look at all the terrible videos that they have of all the evil being done in the world. You can find it, and you can spend your whole life obsessing about all of the suffering that's happening, all of the negativity in the world. And after that, you will believe with 100% certainty that we are living in some kind of hell realm. And that's the danger of AI. Because what if AI just goes online, looks at all the terrible things that humanity has done, and then just makes the decision, oh, well, you guys are terrible. Time to die. When in truth, that's not how life is. There's an infinite amount of negativity and an infinite amount of positivity. To believe that it's only negative is just false judgment. Wrong blindness. You get to choose whether or not you see the beauty or the ugliness. And either one will be true for you, because that's what you're going to be focusing on. So you're going to be seeing the evidence, and then you're going to believe it, because you're going to feel it. If you're always focusing on great, wonderful things all the time, you're going to feel good all the time, and you're going to live a great life. But as human beings, we kind of have this mix. Sometimes we focus on good things, sometimes we focus on bad things. And if you're depressed, it means, all it is, you've been focusing on more bad things than good things. So just flip the ratio, step by step, day by day. And you'll be free from depression. Because all depression is you've been perpetually giving your energy to things that do not serve you. Take your energy back, focus on better things. Depression gone. If you want to escape hell, all you got to do is strive toward heaven. If you want to escape the darkness, all you got to do, strive toward the light. What power does the darkness have in the presence of the light? No power. If you're cold, what do? You get warm. Solves the problem. Make sense? So what we have to do is we have to change our underlying programming. Because if you're living a negative life, or if you're suffering a lot or going through a lot of problems, it means the underlying system is not as effective or efficient as it could be. Meaning, your body is an automatic system, the unconscious. It causes you to act automatically. No conscious will. You're just a slave to it. Now, if that unconscious is negative, it's going to run your life right to the ground. And if your unconscious is positive, it's going to run your life straight up. So we have to use our conscious willpower to reprogram this underlying system so that our unconscious serves us instead of sabotaging our life. So we have the conscious mind that receives information in the form of patterns and symbols. And that could be a thought, that could be an experience. For instance, this pen is a pattern. So in my memory, because I've had experiences with this pattern, I know what it is and I know how to use it. Now, our unconscious speaks the language of feelings. So we have these two systems, the conscious system and the unconscious system, light and darkness. The unconscious is blind. The conscious is aware. And this is where we have power. We have conscious control over our life on this side of the equation, not on this side. And the reason that most people stay stuck in their lives is because they never address this. They're just running on automatic programming. It's like a cat or a dog. You see the cat or the dog just do what it does. It's just pure instincts. It's just being a dog or a cat. Whatever cards were dealt will determine just how it exists. But you're a human being with a higher consciousness, so you don't have to be a slave to fate. That is why Carl Jung said, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Because your unconscious is driving your life. And the conscious is often just along for the ride. So the trick is, the pattern, more often than not, is our relationship to ourselves. You have an idea of yourself. You have an image of who you are. And that's an accumulation of all these kinds of opinions and beliefs and stories that you tell yourself. And whether or not those stories are positive or negative determines how crappy your life is. And you will believe that's the truth because that is what you experience. If you feel like life is always out to get you, it's because you have a bad relationship with yourself. You have a bad relationship with life. I think it was Einstein that probably never said, the one question is whether or not we live in a friendly universe or a hostile one. And think about how tricky this is, especially when you're in a deeply negative state of consciousness. You look at the world and it appears as real, the way you're looking at it. So you believe with 100% certainty that these terrible things are the absolute truth. But it's the opposite. They are true because you believe them. You don't believe them because they are true, because your thoughts shape the way you interpret reality. Your opinions, your stories, your beliefs are shaping reality in real time. And if those beliefs and stories are negative, it's going to perpetually cause you to focus on negative things and run your life into the ground. And you can spend your whole lifetime there. There's no guarantee that you survive, because you have to understand what is happening so you can understand what to do next. And all that's happening is that you're constantly focusing on negativity. Not even because you necessarily, although you may consciously be focusing on negativity, but if you've had a lot of negative experiences in your life, your unconscious will hijack your attention and cause you to focus on negativity for survival purposes. So you're perpetually stuck in fight or flight, always anxious, always having your energy drained, miserable, hell, depression. So every time you have a strong feeling about anything, your unconscious takes a snapshot of whatever it is that caused that deeply powerful emotion, whether it's positive or negative. And that snapshot is memory stored in your body, so that you can be more prepared next time for survival things. So what you want to do is you have to change that image that your body has of you. You have to reprogram your unconscious. You cannot allow the automatic programming to continue running your life. You have to take charge and decide that you don't want to live like that anymore. You don't want to live miserable. You want to live a good life. Again, striving toward the light. You have to make that decision. I want to live a good life. I want to enjoy my experiences while I'm here. And that sets you on a journey to finding freedom. But until you make that decision, you're stuck in hell. That is why there's that saying of abandon all hope. All who enter here Because if you abandon hope, you stay stuck in hell forever. And if you make that decision to change, you can break free anytime. There's no need to be hopeless because now you understand what is happening. When you don't understand what is happening, it's miserable because it's just you're getting hit with life and you don't know what to do. Now all of your resources are being drained and you don't have enough resources to actually solve the problem. And that kills you. When the requirements that life has before you, life is demanding something of you. But if you don't have the resources to match that demand, that is when you die. Life consumes you. But you can ensure that it never happens by learning how to manage your energy. So first, we have to change our own image of our own selves. We have to make that decision. We have to say enough is enough. Time to change. Because until consciously you change, you're going to stay stuck in the unconscious programming. And what that's going to look like is that any time you get into a situation where you are involved, you're going to have negative self-talk. Like, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm never good enough. I can't do it. I can't do this. This is too hard. This is too difficult. And that's where change happens. Because the moment you become aware of that negative self-talk, that is where you have the power. That is where change happens. Because consciously you make the decision, okay, I'm living a better life now. And that's just having the intention of doing that. You don't need to magically change overnight. You don't even have to be that good. You can make mistakes forever, fall on your face over and over again, do nothing right, do everything wrong, and still find freedom and success in life. So you make the conscious decision to change, and then what happens is that you become more aware of that which is aligned with your new conscious decision and that which is opposed. So, I want peace. I want relief. Are these thoughts bringing me closer to peace and relief? No, they're not. They're making my life worse because I'm ruminating on negativity. So in that moment, you have a little decision to make. Do I want to continue feeding this old life that I'm trying to escape, or do I want to begin feeding my new life? And even if you revert to your old ways, don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward. Again, you could fall on your face forever and still make it. So it's not about doing things even that good. It's just about striving toward the light. We all fall short of the glory of God, so don't worry about it. Accept the fact that you are an imperfect human being, that you're going to make mistakes, and that on this journey, it's not that easy. But who you become at the end of it, or along the way, is worth it. Because you will be more powerful, having gone through any kind of suffering, or any kind of struggle, or any kind of problem. It will make you far stronger than if you had never gone through that at all. And it's going to enrich your life. Because the meaning and purpose of life is found through contrast, suffering and relief, pain and pleasure, good and bad. So, the trick is, two things happen. You catch yourself ruminating on negativity, and you prevent the old image from perpetuating, so that begins dissolving. But at the same time, you can consciously implant positive thoughts, positive self-talk, and it's going to make you feel better about yourself. And every time you feel better about yourself, that image is changing. Your unconscious is being reprogrammed. You cannot reprogram your unconscious unless you speak the language of feelings, or unless you understand how the conscious and unconscious works. You meditate in a theta brainwave state, and then you reprogram your unconscious that way. Because here's the deal. There is a big wall between the conscious and the unconscious. So imagine like a house. It's a big gate. And here's the unconscious. He's the ruler of the unconscious. So here you are. You're saying, I want to reprogram my unconscious. I want to change my life. Knock, knock. And you knock on the door, and the unconscious troll monkey thing looks through the keyhole, and if it recognizes you, it'll let you in. And if it doesn't recognize you, it'll kick you out. You're not getting through here. Who do you think you are? Meaning, if you don't speak the same language, there's no communication. That is why affirmations sometimes don't work. Because fundamentally you feel unworthy, So it doesn't matter how much you tell yourself, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. Your unconscious isn't hearing that. It's hearing, I am unworthy, I am unworthy. Because that's how you feel. And you can sense it. You can sense the congruency when you say something by how you feel. So for instance, if I say, I am confident. If I am confident, I will say it with 100% congruency. And if I'm not confident, there will be a mismatch between how I feel and the words that I'm saying. And what has to happen is that we have to make the feeling and the words one. We have to make them match and be aligned. Because once these two things are aligned, life begins working out perfectly. And we become free. Because our unconscious is sabotaging our life. If we don't reprogram it, it won't stop. For example, consciously you want love. Unconsciously you feel unlovable. So every time you go and try and get love, your unconscious will say, nope, you won't be doing that, I promise. Because you, in your attempts to find love, in whatever way, well, it could be dangerous. Because you've been hurt in the past, your body will prevent you from doing the same thing. Or if you want abundance, say, I want to be rich, but I'm broke, I hate my life. Well, no matter how hard you try, unless you reprogram the unconscious, the feeling of lack and scarcity, you will always be on a hamster wheel grinding your life away for money. And you'll never be able to catch a break, and it'll always be difficult. And yet, if you want abundance and you reprogram your unconscious to be safe and to experience abundance as normal, well then there's no effort, there's no conflict. It's just a straight line to what you want. And the more you can change this image, feel certain about certain things, the more quickly whatever it is you want will enter into your life. So what I recommend, you probably have multiple problems in your life, but this one thing solves a lot of them. And that is focusing on your relationship to yourself. You gotta focus on one thing. Because if you focus on too many things, you're not gonna make progress, you're gonna give up, it's gonna suck. Focus on fixing one thing first. And then you know how to fix other things. So what does this look like? Every single day of your life. Are you listening? All you gotta do is treat yourself with kindness and compassion and love, a little bit of love. And you can do this by counting your wins. You want to become a winner. You want to feel like a winner. You don't want to feel like a loser, because that is depression. So, and just one thing. You can think any thought you want, right? Like you can literally think of a vegetable. You can imagine the wheelchair. You can visualize it. You can think of literally whatever you want. And you can see, oh, okay, I have a little bit of freedom to think. And so you can tell yourself right now, I love myself. And maybe you don't believe it. It doesn't matter. Because if you persist in your desired reality, it will happen. Now, here's the thing. The body is looking for evidence of what you believe. It needs clarity. Now, again, the unconscious is blind, so it doesn't know anything other than the information that you feed it, based off, well, the stories you tell yourself and your reactions to your experiences, the meaning that you give things. And this is the wonderful thing, because the unconscious only knows the word yes. And that's a double-edged sword. Because if you tell yourself, I'm stupid, the unconscious says, yes, you are. Okay, new memory recorded. Now, from now on, I'm going to make you focus on all the ways that you are stupid. And you're going to think about it, and you're going to ruminate on it, and you're going to reaffirm that stupid identity. And if you say, I'm the best, the unconscious says, okay, new memory recorded, you are the best. Let's see if you can keep that up. Who wins? Is it the feeling of being worthy, or is it the feeling of unworthiness? And well, how do you ensure that the good feeling wins? You just persist and you stop feeding the negative garbage. Because you can't stop focusing on negativity and continue to feel bad. That's not how this works. You feel bad based on what you focus on. If you stop focusing on what is bad, you stop feeling bad. So every morning, every day, you wake up and you reflect upon your life and you begin acknowledging every single thing you do throughout the day. Like, I woke up out of bed. Wow. I'm winning. I'm already winning. Because some people can't wake up out of bed because they're so depressed. So you consciously take a moment to acknowledge whatever it is. It literally doesn't matter. You could be pooping and classify that as a win, and your body will say, yeah, good job. And you will literally feel like a winner. So it doesn't matter what you do. Lower the bar. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do all these great things to feel great. In fact, you don't have to literally do anything good in order to feel great. You can literally just focus and acknowledge on all these little things that normally they're not really that meaningful, but you can make them meaningful. Like, if you wake up in the morning and you drink some water and you move on with your day, well, it doesn't really mean anything. You just drank water. Not that big of a deal. But if you drink that water and consciously say, wow, I'm being so healthy. I love myself. Thank you for drinking this water and hydrating my body. This is amazing. Wow, I love my life. I love myself. And of course, it's not going to feel congruent at first. But you have to just keep doing it. Because you'll start feeling a little bit better, and you knocking on the door are going to be able to communicate to the unconscious troll. And they're going to listen to you and say, okay, message received. I'll give that to the boss. Every small thing that you do in your day, just acknowledge how wonderful you are. You want to be wonderful? No. You want to be free and have relief? The way you change your relationship to yourself is by feeling differently about yourself. And in order to feel differently about yourself, you have to change your self-talk. In one way, it's called self-parenting. You are acting like the parent to yourself. And you are also like a little baby, trying to figure out life. Trying to learn how to walk. Now, every time you try to walk, you wobble, and you fall down on your face. Are you going to beat yourself up? You're so stupid. You shouldn't have done that. Why can't you just learn how to be good? Why aren't you going to learn how to be better? You stupid baby. Or would you help the baby up and give it another shot? Try it again. Same thing with you in your life. It's just a little bit more complicated. It's literally the same exact thing. It's just a little bit more complicated. Because you have all of these different areas of your life. But fundamentally, you're learning how to walk. You're learning how to live. And if you choose to beat yourself up like a dog, you're going to feel bad about yourself forever. And you're always going to focus on negative situations that reaffirm you as a dog. It's literally all about feeling good about yourself, feeling worthy, feeling confident, feeling safe, so that you can get out of fight or flight and not be so tense all the time, so that you can have freed up energy and you're not depressed, and you can actually live and do things, because you can't live and do things without the life force. You got to take your power back, get some life. Because the life is literally what drives you to do. It's what drives you to live. And that is what we have been doing. Reprogramming the unconscious to focus on positivity by default rather than negativity. By changing the relationship with yourself. You love yourself. You're compassionate. You don't judge yourself. You don't beat yourself up. Therefore, the negativity cannot thrive. You've created an environment that is hostile to negativity and promotes goodness. And once you kind of put the system into place, everything else takes care of itself. Because the unconscious is automatic. It's lifting all of the heavy burdens. I mean, think about it practically. It's beating your heart, breathing your lungs, doing all of this stuff. Literally almost everything it does. You don't have to struggle with those burdens. You have to struggle with the existential crisis of being you. That's your job. The unconscious's job is to take care of everything else. Your job is to learn how to live. Think of the unconscious like a horse and the conscious like a cowboy. What is the job of the horse? To carry the burdens, to lift all the heavy weight. What is the job of the cowboy? To learn how to ride the horse, to know where they are going. And if you fall back and if you fall down and get hurt, what do? You get back on and keep going. So what you will experience moving forward as you start changing your relationship to yourself, day by day you'll start feeling a little bit better, and you'll free up resources because you're no longer focusing so much on all the things that are wrong in your life. And you'll begin this journey of improving and living your best life And you don't need to worry about how long you need to go, because there will be these milestones along the way where you feel good enough. Because if you're in hell and you're a little bit less in hell now, that's a big jump. Feels a lot. You feel the relief. You don't have to go all the way to heaven to feel that relief and peace. You just start shedding the burdens little by little until eventually you have no burdens at all. So every opportunity, seek these out. These opportunities to say something nice about yourself. And it doesn't matter what it is. This is not about being rational, trying to be real, like a realist. This is about using your conscious mind to reprogram your unconscious to change your life. And because the unconscious only knows the word yes, you can reprogram it to be anything, literally anything. You can be a billionaire, you can be the most confident person in the room, you can be famous, doesn't matter. It's all about your self-image, and what self-image do you as the conscious want? And no matter what area in life it's the same exact thing. You want to change how you feel about something in order for that to take place. Because so long as your unconscious feels lack and scarcity, you will never live in abundance, ever. The only thing that will happen is that you'll gain some money, and you'll start to feel differently about yourself and about money, and so therefore money can enter into your life effortlessly. But if you begin to lose money and you start feeling bad about it, then you just revert back to the lack and scarcity. You want to get out of this cycle. Because until you get out of this cycle, you will always be a slave to your external circumstances. Like, I am only good when good things are happening, and I am bad when bad things are happening. Forget about it. You have to manage what you're telling your unconscious. And if you don't, fate. So it doesn't matter what you think is true in the world. What matters is what you, as the conscious mind, tell your unconscious is true. You create reality. So if you want to be rich, if you want to be free from depression, if you want to have a nice relationship, if you want to be healthy, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to tell your unconscious that is what you want, and that is what is the truth. You affirm, I am healthy, I love my life, life is great, life is amazing. And the more you persist in your desired reality, the more the unconscious will listen and receive. Sometimes this is called impregnating the unconscious, because the conscious mind is the masculine aspect and the unconscious is the feminine. So you have to wed these two forces in you together. They have to be married, or else they're divorced. What does this mean? It means that the unconscious doesn't want to have a relationship with you as the conscious, or the vice versa. So there's conflict. It's like you as the cowboy want to go this way. I want to go north. And the unconscious says, that's scary. I don't want to go that way. We're going south. So there's tension, there's turmoil, there's resistance, there's problems. So all you got to do is constantly change that image that your unconscious has of yourself. You consciously come up with an ideal version of your life, who you want to be, and what life you want to live. And you just stay steadfast toward that. That is the light. That is your vision. That is your dreams, your soul's purpose, whatever you want to call it. You make a decision of, okay, this is what I want. And now that you understand and you have clarity about what you want, then you just tell the unconscious over and over and over again, this is what I want, or this is the true nature of reality, or this is the reality we are living in now. And you just become more and more certain, and that's going to come naturally with affirming your desired reality, your desired outcomes, and you're just going to feel more and more better, more and more certain, until the unconscious knows with certainty, okay, new reality, new things are happening now. And you will see your outer reality begin to reflect that change. And new situations, new opportunities will come to you effortlessly, because your unconscious is no longer sabotaging everything. It's no longer hijacking your attention and causing you to focus on bad things. And so, you begin to just become more aware of the opportunities that were always there. But you can't see them when you're in a negative state. So it's all about breaking free from that negative state, breaking the habit of negative thinking, and building the habit of taking that tool that is your mind and focusing it on what you want instead of what you don't want. That is all. And you just persist long enough for something to happen. And there will be these milestones along the way where you receive evidence or confirmation that what you're doing is actually working. And that'll give you a little boost to keep going. You'll experience a little bit of relief. It'll give you some motivation to keep going. And if you don't want to waste years struggling with your negative thoughts, I encourage you to join Mantra Mind Mastery. I took all my knowledge, condensed it into a 90-day step-by-step system, so you don't have to struggle so much like I did. I am Ray, much peace and many blessings. And remember, just me.